Is this the movie tie-in edition? I feel like this is going to be an adventure when I read this. Green is my favorite cover. Hey there, hope you're doing well. Welcome to my channel. In today's video, I will be doing my July book haul. There are 40 plus books here. I don't know. But I'm gonna try to keep the descriptions of them quick and snappy, just so we aren't here all day. But if you're new here, my name is Cherie, and I am obsessed with books. From fantasy to sci-fi to thrillers, book club picks, young adults, I love talking about them all. So if that is something that interests you, definitely consider subscribing. And the first book I have is Immortal Longings by Chloe Gong. So this book is inspired by Shakespeare's Antony and Cleopatra. It has a set of games hosted by the palace where competitors fight to the death to win unimaginable riches. And there is a princess who enters the game with revenge on her mind. The next book we have is The Serpent and the Wings of Night by Carissa Broadbent. So in this book, we follow an adopted human daughter by the night-born vampire king, and she ends up entering a tournament that's hosted by Death herself, which has her going up against warriors from the other 3 vampire houses. And to survive, she makes an alliance with a mysterious rival. Now, the next few are continuations of series I, surprise, surprise, haven't either started or finished. And the first one is Hellbent by Leigh Bardugo. Okay, the book cover is really shiny in the light. Like, I'm trying to, can you see it? Okay. So this is a sequel to Ninth House, which I have up there. And without spoiling Ninth House, it is set at Yale. We're dealing with secret societies, and I believe they are tampering with forbidden magic. And then we have The Bone Shard War by Andrea Sweat. Who? Which is the 3rd book in the Drowning Empire series. So this series follows the Emperor's daughter, who is not recognized to be the heir to the throne, and she decides to prove her worth by mastering the forbidden art of bone shard magic. And then we have Jade Legacy by Fonda Lee, the 3rd book in the Greenbone saga. I don't know if this is just a trilogy or if there will be more books, but like the others, I need to start this one. So this series is set in a bustling capital city where Jade is mined, traded, stolen, and killed for. The Greenbone warriors use Jade to enhance their magical abilities to defend the island from foreign invasion. But then there is a new powerful drug that emerges, and tensions between rival families erupt into violence. The Will of the Many by James Islington. I really need to get to this one, as well as all the rest of them, I guess. I don't know. The ones I haven't read. Some I have. Whatever. So this is set at an academy where a young fugitive ends up finding out world-changing secrets. And our main character is undercover. And if our empire finds out about him and who he really is, they will kill him. I've heard that this is a, if you like Red Rising, try this type of book. So I'm excited to read it. And next we have One for My Enemy by Olivia Blake. In this one, we have 2 rival witch families who fight to maintain control of their respective criminal empires in modern day Manhattan. And a change in one family's interest causes a rift between the families, and then everyone must choose a side. And we have The First Bright Thing by J.R. Dawson. So this is a circus book where the ringmaster can jump through time, and it's set after World War I, and there are shadows possibly in the form of another circus that the ringmaster just can't escape. And next we have The Unbroken by C.O. Clarke. So this one is set in a North African inspired world, and we have 2 women, a princess and a soldier, who will apparently haggle over the price of a nation. And it's an epic fantasy filled with rebellion, espionage, and assassinations. And next we have The Adventures of Amina Al-Sarafi by Shannon Chakraborty. This one is set in the same world as the Davabad trilogy, which I own, and I'll get to it, okay? So our main character here is a retired pirate, and she ends up getting offered a job no bandit could refuse. But there seems to be more to this job she was led to believe. I only have one book here, but it is my most anticipated book of the year. Probably most anticipated book in forever. And that is Lightbringer by Pierce Brown. So this series follows Darrow, who is a red, which is the lowest caste in the color-coded society of this world. And he learns that he and his people have been betrayed after he learns that humanity reached the surface of Mars years ago, while he and his people have been working to make that happen. Then he goes on to infiltrate Gold Society, and it all begins. I'm currently like 30 pages into this, and I'm just so happy. And the first one I have is Chain of Iron by Cassandra Clare. Nope, this is Chain of Thorns, not Chain of Iron. This is Chain of Thorns. But I still need to get to the Dark Artifice series, and I plan to do that. Actually, I don't know when I plan to do that. I'm not gonna lie and say I plan to do that soon. But after I read that, I will read this trilogy, The Last Hours. So this trilogy is like a sequel to the Infernal Devices trilogy, and it follows the children of some of the characters from that trilogy. And I just hope that there will be balls and dinner parties and of course demon killing. Next we have Our Violent Ends by Chloe Gong, the second Chloe Gong book on this book haul. And this is a sequel to These Violent Delights, which is a reimagining of Romeo and Juliet set in Shanghai 1920s. And there's a blood feud between two families that's gonna have to be paused because there is a monster in the river. Next we have Blade Breaker by Victoria Aveyard, another sequel to a book I have not read yet, Realm Breaker. It's kind of getting embarrassing at this point. But you know what, not really, because I do like to collect books, So this series has a band of unlikely companions that go off to save the world, and they have to do that because the heroes have already fallen. And next I have Master of Souls by Rena Barron. I did read the first book in this trilogy, so at least I've done that.
What you want, a cookie?
But this is a trilogy where our main character, Ara, she yearns a magic of her own. Then she ends up making a deal where she trades off years of her life for magic. Then the city's children begin to vanish, and Ara, our main character, she's trying to figure out what's going on. Next I have Silver in the Bone by Alexandra Bracken. So in this we have a mortal without magic, and her guardian has vanished with a powerful ring from Arthurian legend. So Tamsin, our main character, she hopes to find this ring, which could free her brother from a curse that threatens them both. So here we're back to adult fantasy, but these are more cozy romantic comedy ones. So first we have Legends and Lattes by Travis Baldry. So here we have our main character Viv, who has decided to put down her sword and open a coffee shop. But there are old and new rivals who decide to stand in her way of success. And then Viv realizes that she may not be able to do this alone. I know this is considered like low fantasy, and I haven't really read low fantasy, I don't think, but I'm excited to read it. Just get into a fantasy world where the end of the world isn't, you know, the end of the world. Not that I don't enjoy those, because obviously I do, but change of pace is always nice. And next we have Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies by Heather Fawcett. So this is pretty much Emily Wilde's journal. She is a professor, and she decides that she's going to create an encyclopedia of fairies. But while doing so, she runs into a rival academic, and she is trying to figure out the mystery of who he actually is, as well as what he actually wants while working on the encyclopedia. Next I have The Midnight Library by Matt Haig. So we have our main character Nora, and on her last day of Earth she gets sent to this midnight library, and here she gets to see her alternate lives, possible different worlds where she made different choices. But things aren't always what she imagined they would be, and soon her choices could place her in danger, as well as the library. And next I have Small Town Big Magic by Hazel Beck. And in this book we follow Emerson, who is a successful indie bookstore owner, and she pretty much enjoys her life. But one day she ends up getting attacked by creatures who just can't be real, and she ends up killing them with magic. She finds that the past decade of her life has been a lie. So where she lives isn't your typical Midwestern town. It is actually a haven for witches. And when she failed a test years ago, she was actually stripped of her magical memories. But now she realizes that all of her friends are actually witches as well. And now Emerson has to deal with that. Next I have The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches by Sanga Mandana. So this is a story of a witch who has to hide her magic. She lost her parents when she was young and she was raised by strangers. She's used to being alone, but she does have an online account where she posts videos pretending to be a witch. And she thinks no one will take it seriously, but someone ends up doing so. And next I have Black Candle Woman by Diane Marie Brown. So here we have a 17-year-old girl who brings home a boy for the first time to visit her family. But the thing is, her family never told her that they were cursed. And anyone they fall in love with will die. Yeah. So next I'll do the thriller horror category books. And the first ones that I have are all by the same author, Riley Sager. I have The Only One Left, The House Across the Lake, Survive the Night, and Lock Every Door. I decided to get 3 of these in my last book of the month box because, I don't know, I wanted to do like a Riley Sager video at some point. And I've read 2 of their books and I really liked Final Girls. I didn't like The Last Time I Lied that much, but I didn't hate it, So Lock Every Door is about an apartment sitter where someone disappears and she is trying to figure out what happens. And The Only One Left is about a young woman who is taking care of a woman who was accused of something like a Lizzie Borden type crime. And I guess our young caregiver learns all about it. The House Across the Lake is a Rear Window type story, except it's set at a lake. And Survive the Night is about a young woman who gets in the car with a serial killer. I also picked up The Cabin at the End of the World by Paul Tremblay. This is the movie tie-in edition. I know that a movie came out. I didn't see it because once I learned it was a book, I wanted to pick up the book first. I really don't want to know too much about this, but what I do know is that there is a young girl, she's with her parents, and they go to a cabin, and then strangers show up. I think that's enough for me to know. The next one is my June Book of the Month pick, and that was She Started It by Sian Gilbert. And I do not remember what this was about. So apparently old friends come together for an extravagant bachelorette party, and then the darkest secrets are revealed, and this vacation has turned into a terrifying nightmare. And next I have a couple books by Grady Hendrix. I have the Final Girl Support Group, as well as How to Sell a Haunted House. So the Final Girl Support Group is about a Final Girl Support Group. And then pretty much all these Final Girls come together and then someone finds out about the group and then people in that group end up dying or getting in danger. I read this one and it was a fun time. And then for this one, How to Sell a Haunted House, I believe the main character's parents die or someone dies. And then she goes home and she is trying to get the house together, but I'm guessing it's haunted. And the next 4 are all by the same author. I mentioned in a previous video that I had not read any fiction by Stephen King yet. Well, guess what? I have 4 books here. I have Carrie, Pet Sematary, Salem's Lot, and Firestarter. Is this the movie tie-in edition? Not that it matters. This looks like the girl that was playing in the movie. I never saw the movie, but the remake, the one that just came out a few years ago. This looks like that little girl. I don't know. But just like with Riley Sager, I wanted to get a bunch of these books and read them and do a video on them. Carrie is obviously about pretty much about this teen girl who gets bullied and she has these abilities and her mom is very religious. I've seen the movie, but I never read the book. Then we have Firestarter, and what I know about Firestarter, because I have not seen either of those movies, is Stranger Things took like the creators of Stranger Things must have been a fan of Firestarter, because I know when I watched that first season of Stranger Things, I see a lot of aspects of E.T. and I think I've heard that there are aspects of Firestarter as well. And then with Salem's Lot, I think this is the vampire one. Am I right? Maybe? And then Pet Sematary, I know with this one, people have said this one definitely handles grief. I think I saw that first movie, but if I did, that was so long ago, I don't remember it. And I did not go and see the remake. The first one being The Weight of Blood by Tiffany D. Jackson. Speaking of Carrie, this is like a different take on Carrie, set in like the 2010s, and there are definitely racial tensions involved in this one. There is a girl, she is passing as white because her father has made her do so, and then she's found out to actually be of mixed race, and she's also being bullied, and she realizes that she also has these abilities. And I've read this one, and I'm not gonna lie, I was rooting for her. I also have Four Found Dead by Natalie D. Richards. This is a book where it's set in a shopping mall, a defunct shopping mall that's pretty much empty, and it's at a movie theater on its last night, and then things ensue and people die. And yeah, I really like the premise of this, but I read this and didn't really like the book. But this isn't a wrap up. This is a book haul. Only a few more books here, so yeah. I have a couple romances here. I think only a couple. I'm looking at, yeah, a couple romances. First, we have Icebreaker by Hannah Grace. So this involves a figure skater and a hockey player, and whether or not they're going to fall in love. And also, just to let you know, there is a lot of unrealistic figure skating moments in this. I really need to let that go. Next, I have The Nanny by Lana Ferguson. It gets really bright. So this one, I remember looking at this at the bookstore, and I was like, oh, I don't read romance that often, at least like straight up romance every once in a while. I feel like this is going to be an adventure when I read this. So this has this young woman who ends up becoming a nanny for this single father, and she used to have an OnlyFans account, and I guess she finds out that is that a spoiler? And then she discovers that the father is not a stranger to her at all, really someone who's not a stranger to her body. And I guess my last category will be literary general fiction area. And the first one I have is Yellow Face by R.F. Kuang. I read this, I love this. So this follows a young woman who is an author, and she's pretty much telling us the reasons why she stole her dead friend's manuscript. Or maybe she was kind of inspired by her dead friend's manuscript. And it just takes us on a journey in the publishing industry and some of the things that they do that are not great. So yeah, it was a fun time. I enjoyed this. Yeah, it was a fun time. Again, not a wrap up. Next, I have The Marriage Portrait by Maggie O'Farrell. Another one that I don't really remember what it was about. What I'm reading here, that this is an electrifying new novel set in Renaissance Italy and centering on the captivating young Duchess, Lucrezia de Medici. I feel like I need to add at least one, maybe two if I can, literary fiction books every month to read. And yeah, so this is one of the reasons why I picked this one up. Next, I have Lessons in Chemistry by Bonnie Garmus. And I know this is about a chemist who has a cooking show, and I believe Brie Larson is starring in the movie. Oh my goodness. Wow. That's just, okay. Alrighty. Everything fell. Next, I have The Guest by Emma Cline. One, green is my favorite color. So yeah, getting this book just felt right. Also, the main character is supposed to be like a con artist, and after reading Yellowface, I was in the mood to pick up books about con artists, so I decided to pick this one up. And last, I have The Late Americans by Brandon Taylor. So this one I picked up because I follow Brandon Taylor on the app formerly known as Twitter, and I really enjoy his tweets, X's, I don't know. I'm gonna have to see if he's on Threads. I do subscribe to his newsletter though, so at least I have that. But I'm veering off from the point of this book. Anyway, that's the reason why I picked this book up. I don't really know too much about it. I know there's a group of people. We follow different characters. I believe it's set in like Iowa City. I listened to a podcast he was on and I enjoyed it. He was talking about this book. So I said, you know what? Why don't I pick this one up? Yeah, that's how you can usually get me. But that was my July book haul. Let me know your most recent book purchase. But thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And I will see you guys in a new video soon.